Uh, all right, members, we are back again with Engineer Nyamai as we brainstorm on his candidature and what can be done to make our institution go forward stronger as never before. I will hand over to my co-host, Diana.
So, Engineer Nyamai, thank you for the very comprehensive discussion. I wanted to ask, now that you are in the function, or rather you're still in the functions committee, yeah? Am I actually audible? Can I be heard?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Engineer Nyamai, you can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I wanted to ask, you are in the, or rather you're still in the functions and conferences committee, and you are such an advocate of graduate engineers. Don't you think the dinner fees and the conference fee has been so much on them, like a 40,000 conference fee for a graduate?
Sorry, did you finish the question?
I think she is asking about the fees for, say, the dinner fee, and mostly, I think, generally, all the occasions. And Diana, you
on the
there?
fees, yes. And there's also a conference coming up for the Kenya infrastructure course for 2 days, and it's like 18,000 or 20,000. So, as an advocate for graduate engineers, could you comment on these fees that are so, they are so heavy on graduate engineers, to be honest, yeah?
Okay, thank you for the question. Maybe I will start with the generality, then I got to specific. And I want to say it's true the cost of hosting these events, and particularly the plenary events, has been a bit high. And as a functions committee, we've been occasionally confronted with the reality of that it's too high for the graduate engineers, or many people actually generally. And we had to balance between having them on board, paying that amount, or excluding them, or striking a middle ground where you can get sponsorships. You'd be surprised many times some of the payments that have been made for graduate engineers were highly subsidized. That is in general. But in the specific, many times, and I hope I have permission to say this by my colleagues, many times when we've gotten big sponsorships, we've actually brought down the fees that are payable by not only the graduate engineers, but generally all the other members. That has happened, I think, about several times, especially for the president's dinner. But in a few occasions, we didn't have any sponsorship, and therefore the cost of hosting that event, which is the rate that the hotel wants, we have a master of ceremony, we have a DJ. Those costs have to be borne by the people attending the function. So minus any sponsorship, the cost goes high. Maybe moving forward, we'll extend our net and get more sponsorship such that the cost becomes affordable. But yes, it's true, the cost becomes a bit prohibitive for the low earning, mainly the graduate engineers.
Okay, all right. That's answered. Thank you.
I
wanted to ask.
Okay, continue.
Engineer Nyamai, just for my own information, are these conferences also part of IEK's income generating activities, or whatever is paid is according to the conference costs?
Ordinarily, I think if you host an event, you don't want to see, you cannot balance your books before the event happens. And therefore, you make a budget on spending. Then you also look at the revenues. If they strike 1-to-1, then of course you break even, like we say. But on many occasions, it's you save very little, to be very honest. And I think I would say the Institution of Engineers of Kenya is not a profit-making organization. So most of the time, our budgeting is usually aligned to the expected revenues, but maybe that can be said by the Honorable Treasurer, Engineer Fanwell. I hope I answered the question.
Okay. Yeah, you have. Thank you.
Yeah, still on that, were you able to attend the PIP session that was organized by South Rift branch?
No, I didn't. I think I was engaged there, so I didn't attend. Sorry.
You can imagine the cost was only 5,000 per person, right from 18,000. I think the people who are in the organizing committee for those conferences and such events should be able to seek help from the people who know. Like, for example, look at South Rift. They looked for their own venue, they organized, and they called the speakers. And the people, students or graduate engineers who attended, paid only 5,000, right from 18,000 that they used to pay. So what is your take on going forward, how to interact and involve members fully in almost all events? Because I know members will have good ideas on how to reduce cost, because as a non-profit making organization, we have to make sure that we give quality events and quality services, but at affordable prices for because as it is right now, even the conferences, most people can afford only to, those who can afford are people who are working. I, for example, when I was in Kenya, I wasn't able to attend any conference at IEK because I didn't get a job at that time.
Okay. I would say the South Rift branch, I think, is bringing up initiatives that are admirable and worth benchmarking on. The cost of bringing down the PIP session from that figure to 5,000 is quite commendable. But I'll be quick to add this. One, ordinarily the cost of hiring space outside Nairobi is significantly lower. That's not an excuse, that's the truth. Secondly, with a lot of respect to the organizers, I would want to see what was the discussion about the rates between the organizers. I wish we could get Engineer online, just to highlight what is it that was done differently to bring down the cost. But moving forward, you are aware that the Engineers Board of Kenya announced that they acquired a lot of additional space in the new premises. I think it's Barabara Plaza, somewhere in Mombasa.
Yes.
Where moving forward, we will not be charging those exorbitant fees to anybody. Most likely, you can maybe, if we get a sponsor for the event, then you pay nothing. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think the Institution of Engineers of Kenya is not so excited about asking for money. The only thing is we need to ask for some little fees so that it covers the cost to make the event successful.
Sure.
So like I said in my 4 pillars, continuity. Our good relationship with Engineers Board of Kenya might be the work that will take us to making the PIP sessions actually at zero cost. Sure. It's just a good relationship we have with them. So we pray that we'll get a council that is in good relationship with EBK and will advance the good relationship that we've experienced so far and make it even better. Who knows? We might be having like a PIP every 2 months if the candidates are there. And at zero cost, of course, everybody will be interested to come over. So exactly. It's a prayer, and it's one of my aspirations that we need to make this thing affordable. We need to, like I said in my first line of submission, undertake a baseline survey to understand what is it that actually is making people not come forth.
All right.
You can't say that we don't have any experience. I mean, what have they been doing? I'm sorry,
exactly.
So if it is the issue of money, then we hook up with EBK and we convene. I like the initiative that Engineer Eric and Imelda and the team have had in the past, where they actually went to Safaricom and I think they went to another office and they conducted it in-house. It cost zero. So with those initiatives, we'll not complain about 18,000. We'll talk about zero. and the availability of the of the members of the new council to go out there mentoring. I think it's like we are all excited to go out there. Tell us what you're going to, where we are going, and I'll be in my suit tomorrow going.
Thank you for that.
I hope
Now,
I've answered you.
you have. Now, looking at Kenya, Kenya is not only western and say southern part. I think Engineers Board of Kenya is marginalizing Kenya in general because we don't have mentorship. Engineer Eric and Engineer Imelda, for the good job they have done, I thank them, but so far they have been mentoring the section. I would like to see a situation. How will you fight for, say, northern Kenya, northeastern Kenya, mentorship in schools and giving them a platform whereby students in those schools, for example, will be able to choose engineering as a profession or STEM as a profession? The other thing is IEK seem not to be having a fully functioning institutions. I am alluding to what Engineer Auma was saying, that there is a situation whereby we shouldn't depend on the goodwill of the person holding the office. We should have the institution working. Like any other organization, the secretariat is always seen to be on top of everything that is happening. Look at Kenya Teachers National Union. Look at, for example, even this LSK. The secretariat is always on forefront, but IEK secretariat has not been to that level that we would want to. I'm really disappointed on when there is events like, say, World Engineering Day. It's only after I had raised this thing that your Twitter is 0 at 6 when the meeting had gone on and finished. Our Twitter was 0. There was no event there. So we are not actually in the public limelight as we should be. And that could give an impression whereby people think that there's no engineering profession in Kenya, or engineers in Kenya are not well trained, as per that student who asked who the mother told who was talking at Nairobi University on World Engineering Day. So what do you think your candidature will bring to strengthen the institutions, not in the individual holding the office?
Okay, thank you. The first question about mentoring, did I get it mentoring outside Nairobi in some of those far-flung areas of the country? I will start by saying we have a very vibrant mentorship team, and I want to count on Engineer Eric because he's performed very well, very, very well. His commitment is quite admirable. Now, mentorship involves a player who is coming from this side and a mentee on the other side. And in some of those areas, I think you'll bear witness with me that it might be a bit difficult to identify a structure of engagement, what we'd call entry point. An entry point is who do we engage to bring together all the engineers under one roof? Is it the county? Is it, I don't know who it is. So the moment we'll identify these structures, and that's what I said, a baseline understanding of the situation before we make any interventions. Before we roll out any programs, we must have a proper understanding of the situation analysis, and what is the gap and how to bridge that gap. So with understanding of the existing structures that host engineers out there, I think we are all set to go. I am joining the team. I pray that the members will vote for Engineer Eric. I'm not campaigning for him, but I think he's a strong candidate because he brings to the council, those unique competencies that will move us forward. Mentorship, I don't know whether I've answered it before I go to the next one.
Yeah, and just to add on it, maybe I think Institution for Engineers of Kenya should have vibrant offices in at least, I know engineers are spread all over. That means we have an engineer based even in Lodwar right now, or even in Elwak, who can who can take charge on such situation. And I don't think we need to we need to contact maybe schools once in a while and get into coordination with the, how do you call them? County education officer who can guide us in some of these things. I think that there should be something that should be done, because as it is right now, we are only basing our mentorship going southern, eastern, and coastal and central Kenya, something like that. We are afraid of going up there, and we don't go there. That's why some people think that Lodwar is not Kenya. You get it?
I hear you, engineer. But I would say the institutional engineers is a membership outfit, and would want to. Okay, in the outside engagement, mentoring those people who are outside, who are not with us currently, like the students, is something that we need to consider. But the engineering formations out there, like I said, is something that we want to develop an understanding, get to know how many engineers, for example, are in Taita Taveta. Recently, I was engaged with the county, and I was surprised. In one meeting, there were over 10 of us. I'm told not all of us came, not all of them came. So a bit of this engagement is not what I'm saying. Going forward, we would want to know where engineers are. We want to interact with those engineers as a council, bring them on board as members, and mentor them to professional registration.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that one is answered. Now, the issue of the secretariat. I have two positions to take. One is the historical position. Like we said, we began somewhere. We've all been complaining about the way things have been done. But I think in 2020, we can pat ourselves in the back and say we have achieved something, because currently we have a secretariat. Some years back, when we engaged with the Institutional Engineers of Kenya, we would walk in Transcom House, climb some dirty stairs, and appear in some office. This is it, institutional. Today, we actually have somewhere we can go and sit in a boardroom, and discuss. You have a reception, you wait. I'm painting a picture of an achievement. We have come from somewhere and we are going somewhere. We are not there yet. Now, as we go to where we are going, we need to know what else do we need to do. And I'm thinking about administrative structures with clear human resource policies, with clear financial management policies, with clear public relationships policies, with staff who have job descriptions. You see, with a nature, with with the people who feel like they belong. I want to congratulate the efforts that we've done so far. But we still have quite a bit of ground to cover, because some of the staff, some of the individuals that are carrying out substantive assignments at the secretariat actually are interns. And I want to respect them, but they are not on any contract. If they go wrong, the worst you can do is just to tell them to get out of the door and go. I mean, they have not done that. But as a secretariat, and I think, as you mentioned, those others that we want to copy from, they have an HR policy that gives the staff job descriptions with the terms of employment, with a bit of with a bit of terms like HR, not HR, medical terms and leave terms and so forth and so on. I don't know. I have not looked at the letters of appointment. And once we think we need to get there, we'll get there. Yeah, now, sure. In one of the things that I said about establishing a working arrangement, I'll say this with a lot of respect to whoever the people that have come ahead of us. You don't, as an official or as a council member, to come to the office for things to run. If we task the staff that we put in the secretariat with a specific job description which define what they are supposed to do, what deliverables they need to have, who they communicate to, and how, we will not need to, belabor managing things administratively at the secretariat. But I think this is something which I think Engineer Fanuel had mentioned that they are working on. I mean, they have been working on the outgoing council. Like I said, I was not part of that team. My limitations on the functions committee. But as you look at formation currently, there is something that still needs to be done, and I think it should be done. There is goodwill. We have progressive leadership that is coming to the fore, and you might have now the Institution of Engineers of Kenya Secretariat being the place to benchmark by those others that we are mentioning currently.
All right. Thank you for that, Engineer. I would leave to the
Yeah,
other members.
hopefully.
Diana?
Nah, I was saying like hopefully it will get to that point where where will be the benchmark, especially on the social media to start with, even without going to digitization. I mean, like Engineer Ndolo said, during the World Engineering Day, tweets were being posted at 6 p.m. after the event, which was so naughty. So Engineer Eric, I can see you're here. Do you have a question or a comment?
Maybe as Eric prepares his mic, I want to say this, particularly on the happenings at the World Engineers Day celebrations and the fact that we did not dim. I actually engaged with the secretariat staff on why it was not done, and they said, yes, we have arranged everything. I'm not reporting on their behalf, but I can see this now that we are talking about it. They had arranged everything, and the media house that was supposed to cover the event last minute stopped picking their calls. So yes, something was done. It's not that we ignored it. I was not part of the team that was organizing it, but in the spirit of where to place these functions in terms of visibility, I knew something was being done. And when I engaged with the person who was tasked to do it, they said, yeah, everything was organized. When it came to this morning, they stopped picking our calls. They didn't come to the march, and that was it. We failed.
Engineer, with all due respect to people who are in the meeting and the council, the current council, I think some things we want to use very expensive things, which does not make sense. I will give you an example. IEK South Rift branch, I advised them on which application to use, and it was very free. Everybody could follow it from Twitter everywhere. Periscope is free, and it just requires somebody from the secretariat to hold a camera and put it there, and people would be watching, streaming it live. We don't need to, sometimes the media will fail us, like even in South Rift, the media that was recording, with all due respect, they failed at some point. But with free things can, nowadays we don't need to call the media every time and again. We can do these things like LSK people, they went out. If you look at how senior lawyer Harvey was conducting his campaign, he was campaigning with Periscope. You can see a 6-hour video that is downloaded on Twitter. So with that, I think we need to adopt some of the things that are free, not necessarily expensive. They can be used to give the information to the society and to members. I would let Eric to come in, please.
Yeah.
Eric, you're on?
Yes. Hi, Ndolo.
Hi.
Hi, Engineer NYAMAI.
Hi, Engineer Jambo.
Jambo. Thank you so much, Engineer. I must say that I really appreciate and cherish the energy that you have displayed over the last 2 years, especially in the functions committee, and your love for structures in the institutions that we run. I just wanted to ask you on your take on the legislative agenda that we want to push come the next council.
Yeah, specifically, is it a general discussion or just this? Any specifics?
Just a general discussion on how we want to take the legislation, the review of our legislation and some of the acts so that we can take care of our members' welfare.
Okay, thank you. I have two approaches to the legislation agenda that we have. The first one is the in-house legislation, which is the review of our articles of association, what we're calling the Constitution. That is in safe hands, but as a council, whoever will be going in as a council member will need to go through that document with a, with a bit of clear scrutiny capacity to see whether it addresses the issues that have been brought to the fore that have made the practice of engineering a bit difficult. The second legislative approach is on relating to the statutory provisions of our practice as engineers in the country. And I like what actually you mentioned, that going forward, we need to identify platforms that will give us the ability, the impetus to push our agenda, to change those provisions of our practice that do not advance our comfort. I know I've used a lot of common words. I'm looking at the TPOA Act. I'm looking at a bit of those other. If you look at the current newsletter, I think it had listed quite a number of those articles that are currently under review. It was posted the other day by the Secretariat. Now, the approach to that one is, in my mind, similar to what you brought out in your discussion, that one, we need to be clear with what we want to have changed. As a council, it does not have to be the idea of other people to put things in place for us. We know what needs to be changed. We can go through the current provisions and strike with a red pen to say, sorry, this does not address us, this is we want to do it. Number two, we need to go to the next level where we put it, we get, even if pro bono, legal advice or inputs, so that we have a draft that can actually stand through a legislative process, our parliament, if you may. And then the third one is where we link our agenda to people who have access to the legislative process. As you said, engineer, we have people who can carry our agenda. And I think when we talk about carrying our agenda, we need to lobby with them. We need to go out there, maybe to the state law office, whichever means we get out there. And it's not difficult if we get people who actually stand with us. How do you do it? At some point, I think one of us proposed to introduce a new membership class of some of those people who have strategic value to the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. I don't know whether we give them a membership, corporate membership, or whether we want to do it. But such people are like the CEO currently at Safaricom. I don't know, I think his term is still there, Michael Joseph. As an engineer, you can actually drive our agenda in an aspect, not necessarily the legislative aspect. But using that as an example, our stakes in the telecommunications industry, and particularly at Safaricom, in the hands of Michael Joseph, might actually be advanced. The other ones are like former and current members of parliament. They can actually help us to navigate through the legislative process such that, one, our agenda goes through to the legislative, to the floor of the House, and number two, it's not diluted in our absence to the level that what comes out is a monkey that looks like the monkey we started with. I'm sorry to use that, but it is the same monkey we started with. And that requires a bit of a deliberate effort, persuaded consistency, and a commitment to the cause. That can only come, I think, if we get people to the council who identify with the problems that engineers are going through. Currently, and I want to use this as an example as I finish, I went to a site somewhere the other day, and there was a big cluster of non-Kenyan engineers on a project. And the initial phase of that project requires that there was design review and signing of the designs. And when I went back later on, I found that all those foreigners, most of them, not all of them, most of those foreigners actually had practicing licenses issued by one of us. Obviously, the Engineers Board of Kenya. And I said, In what way does the current legislation that empowers the Engineers Board of Kenya ring-fence the interests of Kenyan engineers to the extent that you don't count how many Kenyan engineers will stay unemployed and exposed to practical experience because they've issued a license? I'm not blaming them. I know they were doing what they were supposed to do as per the Act as it exists. But some of these are the provisions that we need to look at and say, okay, you guys have been doing things like this. The ground has shifted. We have close to 10,000 plus engineers who are out there and who, even if you took, for example, the responsibility of one of those foreign engineers by signing a document would deny close to 6 disciplines: mechanical, electrical, structural and civil, and others. It will deny them the opportunity to get the practical experience. Now, I know I was answering the question of the legislation. Some of these provisions in the Act look harmless as we sit here, but when applied, you will actually be surprised at the ripple effect. How many people don't get that experience? How many families cannot get a livelihood? How many engineers don't earn a living and advance their profession? And we sit here complaining. So looking at some of these, right from the IEK Act, I would say, I think we need to introduce clauses that ring-fence the interests of local engineers. I don't want to call ourselves local, but Kenyan engineers. Now, the process, to summarize, the process needs to be well thought out. We need to identify which stakeholders we'll engage with. If possible, we identify the platforms of engagement. If need be, we introduce structures of engagement within the Institution of Engineers of Kenya structures, such that it will not be a call to a call. I mean, one person calling the other one, but there are structures that exist in the established structures of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. Then we go to draft the changes. If there are existing legislative provisions, we draft the changes, we put them in legal language that is acceptable so that it's not thrown out, and we get somebody to run with it all the way to the end so that at the point of the amendments, after the second reading as they normally do, they will not go and just strike off everything and start putting like anybody who is knowledgeable in construction. That could be anybody. So there are an whole array of acts that actually work against the interests of engineers in Kenya, and we need to sit down, look at them, identify stakeholders, look at what needs to be done, then we get people to run with them, because I will not go to the floor of the House today to bring up a debate on an item. I don't know whether I've said what Engineer Eric you wanted to hear.
Thank you so much for that comprehensive.
Eric?
Yes?
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you so much, Engineer, for that comprehensive response, and I wish you all the best.
Dan, you have a question?
Thank you, Engineer.
No. I was just trying to prompt the response. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you very much, Engineer. Is there any other question? If there's no question, I would like to give this session, this last 5 minutes or so, for Engineer NYAMAI to give us his parting shot as he call out for voters to come out in numbers to vote come 23rd of March and vote for him and vote wisely. Engineer?
Thank you so much, Engineer Ndolo. Like I said, in theories of motivation, there's one that we learned that talks about expectancy theory, and it crudely put says that the amount of effort you put into a task is almost directly proportional to the anticipated outcome. We need to know as engineers how much effort we need to change things to suit our aspirations and to address our agenda. part of that effort is in the voting process. As I request for the vote of the engineers, I would request that we ensure that you consider yourself as having a stake in the well-being of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. And with that stake, you have a responsibility to get things sorted out. I'm not promising magic, but I want to promise commitment and sacrifice to stand in the gap and get those things that I stand for done for the benefit of engineers, not for myself. So with that, can I request that you vote for me as ordinary council member? I know for me, who will drive the agenda of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya to the next level. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Engineer. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for coming to be our guest, or for agreeing to be our guest today, and wish you all the best in the forthcoming elections. I am also calling forward to all voters, eligible voters, to come out in numbers. The voting will be in electronic form, and it will be from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Come out in numbers. Your vote is needed at this very moment. You need to take this institution to the next level that we would want to see for the next generation. I would leave the next 1 minute for my co-host to close us up.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer NYAMAI, for being our guest today, and thank you also for the comprehensive discussion. I wish you all the best. I've interacted with you earlier at the IEK conference in Diani, and I know your passion for the institution. So yeah, wishing you all the best. May you, when you get in, please implement all that you have promised. And it was also really admirable of you to campaign for another candidate, that is Engineer Eric. I've not had any other candidate praise another candidate, and also Engineer Eric praised you, so that is really admirable. Wishing you all the best, and voters, please come out and vote electronically at your own convenience. Just ensure you have the internet. Thank you, Ndolo, also for hosting and being consistent.
Thank you. Once again, I wish all the ladies out there, especially the strong ladies who took challenge in engineering as a degree program and went through and finished. I wish you all of you a happy International Women's Day, and as we grow stronger in the day, may you also impact that motherly nature in engineering as a profession. Otherwise, everybody who participated in this meeting, I thank you all, and I wish you a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.